Tudor History in Under 10 Minutes. Part 1. What was Henry VIII's last gift to his executed second wife, Anne Boleyn? Anne Boleyn was the second wife of Henry VIII and the mother of Queen Elizabeth I. Around 1526, Anne caught Henry VIII's eye. She famously refused to become his mistress and held out for the crown, finally marrying Henry VIII in 1533. After Henry VIII turned his attention to Jane Seymour, he and Thomas Cromwell engineered a plot to remove her. Anne was arrested in May 1536 on unbelievable charges, including adultery, incest, and treason against the king. She was convicted at a show trial and beheaded on May 19, 1536, at the Tower of London. As a small act of mercy and respect for her former queenly status, Henry VIII sent for a specialist swordsman from Calais, France, instead of using the common executioner's axe. The sword was considered a more swift and honourable method of execution, often reserved for high-ranking French nobility. Was Henry VIII in love with Jane Seymour? Jane Seymour was the third wife of Henry VIII. Henry VIII began to take notice of Jane in early 1536, as his marriage to Anne Boleyn deteriorated. Jane deliberately played a cautious game. When Henry sent her a purse of gold and a letter, she famously refused the money and returned the letter saying she had no greater treasure than her virtue. This deeply appealed to Henry, who was looking for an obedient counterpoint to Anne Boleyn. They married just 10 days after Anne Boleyn's execution on May 30th, 1536. As queen, Jane's focus was on peace and obedience. She fulfilled the traditional role of a queen that Henry had always desired. On the 12th of October, 1537, Jane gave Henry the gift he had always wanted, a baby boy, the future Edward VI. She had delivered Henry a son and heir. Following the birth, many historians believe Jane contracted childbed fever, ultimately leading to her death at the age of 29. Henry accorded Jane the highest funeral honours of any of his wives and, significantly, chose to be buried beside her when he died 10 years later. What was Bloody Mary's deepest humiliation? Mary I was the daughter of Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon. She was proclaimed queen on July 19, 1553, following the death of her half-brother Edward VI. At 38 years old, Mary married the handsome and much younger Philip II of Spain. Mary was desperate to produce a Catholic heir to prevent her Protestant half-sister Elizabeth from taking the throne. Mary soon announced she was pregnant, and church bells rang across London in celebration. A royal nursery was prepared at Hampton Court. When she claimed to feel the baby move, a public Thanksgiving service was held. The entire nation waited. Mary went into confinement in April 1555, but soon after, the expected May due date passed. When she finally emerged in August 1555, Mary was not holding a baby. Her husband, Philip II, who had only married her for political gain and an heir, saw the empty cradle and lost all interest. He promptly left England and did not return for over a year, preferring his continental affairs and mistresses. Mary was left alone, publicly ridiculed and heartbroken. Why did Elizabeth I never marry her first love? Elizabeth I was the daughter of Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn. Her mother Anne Boleyn was executed when she was 2, and Elizabeth was then declared illegitimate. Despite this, she succeeded Mary I and was proclaimed queen in 1558. Elizabeth maintained a long line of foreign and domestic suitors such as Philip II of Spain, Archduke Charles, Francis Duke of Anjou, and Eric XIV of Sweden. They were all deemed unsuitable at a time when Elizabeth viewed a lack of consort as political strength. However, one man held a special place in Elizabeth's heart: childhood friend and companion, Robert Dudley. Their bond was deep, passionate, and evident to everyone at court. When Elizabeth became queen in 1558, she showered him with titles and honours, making him Master of the Horse. Dudley, however, had a wife, Amy Robsart. As long as Amy was alive, Elizabeth could not marry Dudley without facing accusations of adultery, or worse. In September 1560, Amy Robsart was found dead at the bottom of a staircase in Cumnor Place. The jury ruled it an accident. Almost immediately, rumours exploded across England and Europe that Dudley had murdered his wife to marry the Queen. The scandal was so severe that marrying Dudley would have effectively destroyed Elizabeth's credibility and probably led to civil war. Elizabeth was forced to publicly distance herself from marriage to him, but she never stopped loving him. What was Mary, Queen of Scots' greatest tragedy? Mary became the Queen of Scotland when she was just 6 days old after the death of her father, King James V. In 1558, she married the French Dauphin, Francis II, becoming the Queen Consort of France in 1559. After Francis passed away, Mary fell in love with her first cousin, Henry Stuart, Lord Darnley. Darnley was strikingly tall and handsome, cutting a dashing figure that appealed strongly to Mary. They married on July 29, 1565, at Holyrood Palace in Edinburgh. The love match soured almost immediately due to Darnley's weak character and overbearing ambition. Darnley quickly proved to be an arrogant, demanding, and politically inept husband. He also developed a deep paranoid jealousy of Mary's close friendship with her private secretary, David Riccio. On March 9, 1566, a group of armed nobles led by Darnley burst into Mary's private supper chamber. The men dragged Riccio out and brutally stabbed him to death. Mary began seeking a way to divorce Darnley, but Catholic law made divorce difficult. On February 10, 1567, Darnley and his valet were found murdered, some alleging Mary was an accomplice. The complete and violent destruction of her marriage to Darnley, highlighted by his role in the murder of her close confidant, David Riccio, represents arguably Mary's greatest tragedy.